Hey there, fellow fish fanatics. Today, I'm thrilled to splash some knowledge your way about the art of coral tank care. This presentation is brimming with tips that I recorded back in the fabulous fall of 2025. So, grab your snorkels and let's plunge into the colorful universe of coral care, where we'll uncover the secrets to keeping your underwater paradise flourishing. Get ready for some fantastic advice that will have your corals dancing with joy. All right, folks. Let's take a whimsical plunge into the enchanting realm of our aquarium systems. First on our aquatic adventure is the Tyler Webb Research System, a treasure trove for the Biology 3700 class. It's like a magical underwater library for students. Next, we have the Wall Reef Tank, a spectacular elongated aquarium that runs the length of the wall, flaunting a dazzling array of marine critters. Then, we swim over to the Soft Coral System, a network of 6 interconnected aquariums. While it's famous for its soft corals, you'll be surprised to find a colorful cast of species thriving in there. And last but not least, let's not overlook the Howell Reef System, our newest and grandest addition tucked away at the back. It boasts an awe-inspiring coral table that's bound to mesmerize anyone who stops by. Hey there, everyone. Just a quick shout out about the tank signups. You can find the link in your syllabus and handbook, so make sure to check those out. And if you still need keys, don't forget to swing by room 209, our Marine Lab, to grab them. If you need access to the storage room across the hall, that's room 229 or 228. Also, if you plan on coming in over the weekends, don't forget to request an exterior key. Now, let's dive into GroupMe. We've got 2 separate groups for the Marine Lab coordinators. If you're a coordinator, it's crucial to be in both groups to catch all the important updates I'll be sharing with everyone. Just a friendly reminder, the tank signups are right when you walk in on the left side. You can use the QR code there for the signups, our species list, and the infamous death wobble information. One last thing, please utilize the whiteboard to keep track of important details. Make sure to note when your tank was last fed, the last water change, and when you cleaned up any salt creep. Keeping the board organized is super important. During breaks and holidays, instead of using the clipboards and whiteboard, I usually switch to this notebook for the holiday and summer feeding log. You can typically find it on the bookshelf, or I'll leave it on the front table during the holidays. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let's keep everything organized and running smoothly. All right, folks, let's jump into the thrilling world of our dual reactors. In our reef tanks and the touch tank, we've got these marvelous dual reactors, proudly labeled for GFO and carbon. Over on the right, you'll spot the carbon cartridge, just waiting to do its magic. But here's a little nugget of wisdom. Those sponges inside can get a bit cranky and clogged over time. So, don't forget to give them some TLC and replace them regularly. Aim to swap out that carbon about once a month to keep everything running like a well-oiled machine. Trust me, your aquatic friends will thank you for it. On the left side, we have GFO, which stands for granular ferric oxide. I've ditched it because, while it's great at tackling phosphates in reef tanks, it can be a bit of a hassle and messy. I've found some slicker ways to handle phosphates now. Instead, I'm all about a liquid additive that binds phosphates like a pro. Next up, we've got string wound pre-filters on the left. These little guys need a weekly replacement since they clog up faster than a traffic jam on a Monday morning. You'll have a pump in the sump that sends water into this system. Once it's filled to the brim, the water flows into the next chamber, where it gets a nice carbon treatment before heading back to the aquarium. When you're maintaining this setup, don't forget to either unplug the pump or just turn off the valve here. There's a nifty little knob for that, making it super easy. You can keep the pump running while swapping out the components, too. These parts screw on and off without a hitch, but if you run into any trouble, there's a handy tool included with each reactor to lend a hand. After you've swapped out the components, take a peek at the carbon cartridge. The lid comes off without any fuss. And don't forget to toss those sponges. They love to clog up. Also, if your tank is getting clogged more often than a sink after a big dinner, give me a shout. I've got coarser options that won't clog as frequently. All right, let's keep your tank running smoother than a well-oiled machine. Hey there, folks. So, you might be scratching your heads wondering where to snag those items. Well, you can swap them out right here at the front table. It might look like a tornado hit, but those are the rag cartridges you see, which are absolutely crucial for our process. After they take a dip in the bleach bucket, they get laid out over here to dry. And right here, we have the carbon cartridges. Let's zoom in on this beauty. This one is a pleated paper filter, and you can totally use this instead of the rag cartridges. They're finer and will catch those pesky smaller particles. But just a heads up, you might need to give them a little more TLC and clean them more often. If you're feeling adventurous, go ahead and give one a whirl. There are a few extras just hanging out. Once you've removed something from the filter, just toss the carbon away and grab a fresh one. All the filters take a little swim in the bleach bucket afterward. First, we rinse them off in the sink, then they dive into the bleach bucket. After that, someone else will swoop in and take care of moving them through the system and back to the table. All right, let's keep this show on the road. Hey there, fellow reef tank aficionados. Just a friendly nudge for all you aquatic caretakers. Remember to use reverse osmosis, RO, water. If you're tempted to fill up from the city tap, like those massive containers in the back room brimming with municipal water, brace yourselves for an algae invasion. Tap water is notorious for its sneaky high levels of nitrates and phosphates, which can turn your tank into a green nightmare. So, stick with the pristine RO water we've got waiting for you in those 2 buckets. Just give your tanks a little top off with that. Now, let's dive into the world of additives. I've stocked up on a treasure trove of goodies in the back room, right by the vats and the quarantine zone. Most of what you'll find there is pretty harmless, but if you're on the hunt for something specific, that's your go-to spot. We've got calcium, alkalinity boosters, and a buffer that's basically baking soda, along with other must-have additives. All right, let's keep those tanks flourishing and thriving. Welcome to the Tyler Webb Research System. Now, I know what you're thinking. What a lovely picture. But trust me, the real magic happens inside this big plastic box on the right. That's our Apex computer, the brain behind the operation. We've got 3 tanks here. Let's call them A, B, and C. And over there, we have 2 larger tanks just hanging out, adding some extra water volume. They're like the chill friends of the group, just filled with live rock. Now, over here is our sump and top-off reservoir. I'll give you a closer look in a bit. And those 2 jugs on the floor? They're part of a 2-part system that adds alkalinity and calcium to the mix. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. They're like that one friend who shows up to the party, but you're not sure if they're really needed. Down below, you'll find the switches to turn the pumps on and off. It's like a mini control center. Now, let's take a peek at this first tank. It could use a little sprucing up, but check out those radion lights up top. They're powerful and, let's be honest, pretty pricey. So, whatever you do, don't set anything on them. Cracking this tank would be a disaster. As research coordinators, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to keep these systems clean and looking sharp. The students from the 3700 class will be weighing the fragments and doing all the water quality testing. They're also in charge of maintaining the tags on the frags. And yes, they'll be cleaning the frags with toothbrushes. You don't have to worry about that part. But I do expect you to tackle the general mess, detritus, salt creep, and all that fun stuff. Let's keep this place looking spiffy. All right, folks, gather around. Let's dive into the magical world of our water tank system. So, here's the deal. We've got this overflow situation happening, and it's all about getting water from inside the tank down through this nifty uplift tube that leads to the sump. Easy peasy, right? Now, don't go poking around too much. We've got this 2-part system for alkalinity and calcium. Just let them chill in there. Over here, we've got the probes. Give them a glance, but don't go giving them a hug. We want to keep them clean, so if you see any algae trying to throw a party, you can gently use a soft bristled toothbrush to give them a little scrub. But honestly, they should be fine. Now let's talk about the pump. It's currently set to high gear, and I might just dial it down a notch because it's flowing faster than a cheetah on roller skates. Definitely more than 0.2 meters per second. Just keep everything tidy and looking sharp, all right? I've added a bunch of hermit crabs to help with the cleaning crew, and if we need more snails, just holler. Now, as the lab's research coordinators, it's your mission to take care of this system. Moving on to this little beauty here, a Kalkwasser reactor. Not your everyday sight, but I'm a fan. We toss some Kalkwasser in there, which is basically lime water. I'll handle the mixing because if we add it directly to the tank, it's game over for our aquatic friends. We've got pumps that will sprinkle in small amounts throughout the day, and there's a motor that keeps things mixed up. Just leave it be. I've got it covered. As for the lights, don't sweat it. If anything goes haywire, just give me a shout. and I'll sort it out. Now, let's take a closer look at the sump. This is another area I want you all to keep an eye on. So there you have it. Keep it clean, keep it fun, and let's make sure our aquatic buddies are living their best lives. All right, folks, gather around. We've got ourselves a dual reactor situation here. On the left, we've got a pleated filter or one of those fancy rag cartridges, and on the right, your trusty carbon cartridge. Now, remember, this little guy needs a change every week, while the carbon can hang out for a month. Pro tip, slap a label on it when you swap it out. You could print one, but let's be real, you'll run out of labels faster than you can say filter sock. A piece of tape works too, just don't forget to change it out. Speaking of which, let's talk filter socks. You've got 3 of them, and they need a weekly spa day. Pull them out, give them a good rinse in the sink, and then toss them in the bleach bucket. They'll be drying in the basket over there. Just make sure you grab the small ones. The bigger ones are for those who like to live dangerously. Now, keep an eye on those heaters. If they're acting up, give me a shout. There's a controller that manages them, and if the water level dips too low and the pump's running dry, just add some water. Easy peasy. Let's not forget about the protein skimmer. You'll need to do some maintenance on it, but don't go yanking it out of the tank. Ideally, you shouldn't have to add water to the sump at all. Just keep an eye on the reservoir under the table. That's where the magic happens. The pump pulls fresh water from there into the sump when it gets low, thanks to a float switch. If everything's working right, you'll only need to top off the reservoir with reverse osmosis water. Now, if you peek inside, you might find a bag of carbon that's probably been there since the dawn of time. If you're feeling adventurous, go ahead and change that out too. And remember, if you see any weird algae, like that chetomorpha we want to keep around, don't panic. There's a light that comes on every night to keep it happy. It's like a little algae party from 5 to 9. So there you have it. Keep those filters clean, the heaters happy, and the algae thriving, and you'll be the proud owner of a well-maintained aquarium. All right, folks, let's dive into the wonderful world of protein skimmers. Now, picture this. You've got your sump here, and it's like the backstage of your aquarium. There are 4 drains doing their thing, sending water into the sump. And over here, we have the pump that's like the water's personal chauffeur, bringing it in from the reservoir. Now, let's talk about the star of the show, the protein skimmer. These little gadgets can be a real headache if you don't adjust them right. I mean, if you mess it up, it could flood your setup. So, here's how it works. Water gets sucked in through this pump, which is driven by an impeller. It froths the water up like a barista making a fancy cappuccino. This is where the magic happens. The Venturi tube sucks in air, creating a bubbly wonderland. Those tiny bubbles are like little ninjas, grabbing onto proteins and other dissolved organics. They rise up and fall into the collection cup, which we affectionately call the schemate collector. You want that stuff to look like dry foam, not a soggy mess. Now, adjusting this thing can be tricky. My advice: don't mess with the air intake. Instead, use that knob right there. Turn it one way for more bubbles and the other way to dial it down. But here's the kicker. Make your adjustment small and give it a few hours to settle. Trust me, it's like waiting for a souffle to rise. Patience is key. And remember, anything you add to the tank can throw the skimmer off balance. Feeding, additives, and even the water level in the sump can change the game. If the water level drops, it's a problem. If it rises, you might as well grab a mop because it could flood. Now, check out the collection cup. Once it fills up, it drains into this bucket. Not the fanciest setup, but it works. Just dump it out when it's full. Oh, and don't forget about the automatic cleaner. It's like a squeegee for the skimmer's neck. Just give that top piece a twist, and it'll keep things tidy. You should do this weekly during your maintenance routine. Lastly, if anything goes awry, just holler. Sometimes we need to take things apart and service the pumps, and I'm here to help with that. So, let's keep that skimmer running smoothly and your aquarium thriving. All right, folks, gather around. Let me give you the lowdown on this system. Underneath, we've got a bunch of pumps and controllers, but the ones you'll want to pay attention to are for each tank. We've got tank 1, 2, 3, or if you prefer, A, B, C, whatever floats your boat. Now, right in the middle, there's this big pump. See that cord? That's your control line. Everything's locked down here just the way I like it. But here's a little tip. If you want to see into the tank without all that pesky ripple action, just hit that green feed button that says Speed Feed and hold it down for about 3 seconds. This will put it into feed mode, shutting off the pumps so you can see what you're doing. It's perfect for feeding the corals without blowing their food away. So, when it's feeding time, you'll be using brine shrimp and reef chili for the first 2 tanks, while the last one gets a pass. Just remember, after you hit that button, you've got 10 minutes to get the job done before the pumps automatically turn back on. Easy peasy. Now, let's take a closer look at that KWSR reactor. If anything goes awry, just give me a shout. I'll handle it. The testing is in the hands of the students in the 3700 class, and I've got an online forum for you to check their results. Maybe I should slap a QR code up here for easy access. And here's the brains of the operation, the Apex system. This little beauty controls everything. I usually keep reagents and other goodies down here, including the Trident, which tests alkalinity 4 times a day and calcium and magnesium twice daily. We go through a lot of reagents, folks. You'll also find some probes around here. This is the interface you'll need to access via computer or phone. I'll get you set up with Apex Fusion, where you can see all the important stats like alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, temperature, salt, pH, and ORP. Now, the temperature in this tank is usually pretty stable, but some of the others can get a bit toasty. And that reading you see? I calibrated the salt probe, but the pH hasn't been calibrated in a while, so it might be a tad off. I'll get to that soon. As for ORP, that's oxidation reduction potential, and it can get a little wild if you're messing with the tank. The ATK is for turning the auto top-off on or off, so if something goes haywire, it might need to be switched back to auto. We've got a 2-part system for calcium and alkalinity that I use occasionally, but the rest of this stuff? Just ignore it. And there's the Kalkwasser. Yeah, you don't need to worry about that either. All right, let's keep moving. Welcome to the Wall Reef. This is hands down my favorite tank. Just look at those corals. And up there, you can see the lights. Oh, and there's a ladder, usually parked over here because I've got some gear stashed up top. Check it out from the other side. You can see the lights shining bright. Now, a little tip, don't go fiddling with the lights. They operate on 2 channels, one for the blue light and the other for all the other colors, which they like to call white. So really, there's no need to mess with them. They're all on timers, and everything runs on autopilot. And over here, we have the drain. This is where the magic happens. There's a tube that pulls water for the Trident system. So what do we feed this tank? Well, let's dive into that. All right, folks, let's dive into the world of fish feeding, shall we? So, in our research tank, we've got a few fish that are just waiting for their tiny sprinkle of flakes. But over in this other tank, oh boy, we've got a whole party of flake-loving fish. The green chromis are the stars of the show, and they're not alone. There's also the coral beauty and a few others joining the feast. Now, let's talk about the tangs and rabbit fish. These guys are the herbivores of the group, and they're not interested in flakes at all. But don't worry, our chromis are omnivores, so they'll happily munch on those flakes. However, we need to spice things up a bit. It's time to get some nori. You should find a lettuce clip lying around. Here's the plan. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, grab a big piece of nori, fold it up nice and small, and clip it on there. Let those little guys go to town on it. And remember, keep that nori in the refrigerator to keep it fresh. And that's how we keep our fish happy and healthy. Easy peasy, right? All right, let's get to it. Welcome to the sump tour. So, right here we have the sump, and let's not forget about the filter sock. This little guy needs a weekly spa day. Just yank it off, toss it in the sink, give it a rinse, flip it inside out, and voila! For those larger socks, flipping them inside out makes washing a breeze. After that, it's off to the bleach bucket for a proper cleanse. Now this hose, no biggie, just wrap it up and forget about it. Next up, we have the whole house filter, or reactor, or whatever fancy name you want to call it. There's a switch to turn it off, so when you need to swap out the rag cartridge, just flip that switch. Moving along, we've got the carbon cartridge over here. Now, check this out, the refugium light. There's a big old glob of Chaetomorpha algae down there, which we love. I've even got a pump in there to keep things stirred up. If you see a lot of algae like in this picture, give me a shout. That means we've got phosphates in the system, and I'll whip up something to tackle that. It'll bind up the phosphates, and then the skimmer will do its magic and remove it. On the right side, we've got a heater. Make sure that baby is running. Up top, there's a heater controller that shows the actual temperature. And here's the Kalkwasser reactor. If anything seems off, just let me know, and I'll take care of it. We also have a two-part system over here that adds calcium and alkalinity. Now, check out the float switch. You'll see the same thing in the auto top-off system, with that orange tube leading down. There's something hiding below here, but I think that covers most of it. If you spot a lot of bubble algae, that's a red flag. And just keep an eye out for any algae in the system. Speaking of which, there's quite a bit of algae in here right now. All right, here's a better view. Oh, and there's the temperature controller on the right side. Sorry about that. And over here, we've got the apex all crammed into that box. Whatever you do, don't touch that knob. Those gate valves can get clogged with calcium and are as useful as a chocolate teapot. If you try to turn it, you'll break it. So just leave it be. Basically, water comes up from the return pump down here, flows back to the tank, and some of it gets filtered while the rest heads to the skimmer. Up top, we've got the trident, which is connected to the apex. I'll handle that, so no worries on your end. I'll make sure to change out the reagents and keep everything running smoothly. Now, down below, we have the sump. Make sure this reservoir is full. Just like the other tank, one of the first things you'll do when you come in is add water to the reservoir. Fill it up to that line at least once a week. Trust me, it's a must. The skimmer bucket is down there too, and you might need to empty that every now and then when it gets full. Oh, and there's a dehumidifier here, which I usually have to shove out of the way. And that's the grand tour of the sump. Let me know if you have any questions or if you see anything unusual. All right, folks, gather around. Today, we're diving into the world of skimmers, and let me tell you, this one is a real whopper. This massive contraption here is a recirculating skimmer, and right next to it is a smaller version, still impressive, but not quite as grand as our behemoth on the right. So how does this beast work? Well, water flows into the skimmer from an unseen inlet at the bottom. Then, we have a second pump that does its magic, pushing the water up through a tube and back out. The frothy goodness collects in the cup at the top, and then it drains into that orange bucket down below. Now, controlling the flow is key. These things can get clogged, and trust me, I've had to swap out parts more times than I can count. I even added a valve at the end to manage the outflow. Don't touch that. I'm the one who handles it. Now let's talk pumps. This setup requires two, one for the flow-through and another recirculating pump that creates those delightful bubbles. They work like a charm. Moving on, here's an automatic cleaner that's currently on the fritz. I haven't had the chance to tinker with it yet, but it's supposed to have a squeegee that cleans the skimmer neck automatically. If I can't fix it, I'll just revert to the old top. But hey, you can take off the top piece to clean it if you want. Just don't mess with the bottom. If you notice any issues, give me a shout. The impeller tends to jam up with all the calcium buildup, and it's a constant battle. Now, about that tank, cleaning algae off of plexiglass is a real pain. Forget razor blades. You need plastic ones or special scrubbers. Magic erasers work wonders too. We've even been experimenting with an air-driven sander to tackle the coralline algae. It's a process, but we're getting there. Let's check out the Walreep Apex system. Everything's looking good. Alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, and temperature are all in check. I did mess with the salinity probe, but the pH readings are off. I haven't calibrated those in a while, so don't stress about it. Now, the soft coral tank shares the same apex, but has its own trident. The probes for that system are right here, but they're not reading correctly. We need to keep an eye on the par levels for both tanks to ensure the lights are doing their job. Salt creep is a never-ending battle. We have vacuums specifically for that, and they're a lifesaver. For the glass tanks, you can use razor blades, but be careful. Here's a peek at the sump. Keep that reservoir filled with RO water, and it should automatically top off if everything's working right. We've got skimmers and filter socks that need weekly changes. The Ketomorpha down here has its own light, and we've got a dual reactor for rag filter and carbon. Remember to replace the carbon monthly. Now, this homemade Kalkwasser reactor is a little experiment of mine, and it's surprisingly effective. It's just a bucket with a dosing pump that keeps everything mixed and flowing. Underneath, we have the Neptune system modules, and all the probes are plugged in. The auto top-off controller is a bit hidden, but it'll be back in its spot soon. So there you have it. The skimmer collection bucket, return pump, and probes are all in place. Just make sure the auto top-off eye stays wet, or it'll stop working. If it does, unplug it and plug it back in. And that's a wrap. If you have any questions or run into issues, just let me know. I'm here to help. All right, folks, let's dive into the Howell Reef system. Now, I know this picture looks like it was taken with a potato, but trust me, it's a big tank. We've got several lights up there, and they should be automated. If they start acting up, give me a shout. Inside, we've got the Apex system. Just a heads up, there's a GFI that might trip sometimes, and it's hiding behind that box. You'll need to reset it every now and then. Now, check out this next picture. Right below, you can see the reservoir. It's like a thirsty plant. It needs to be topped off regularly. And there's your calcium reactor. I'm thinking of switching it up with a different system. I'm planning to add a calcium reactor, which is quite different from a Kalkwasser reactor. Over here, we've got the sump and the skimmer, and don't forget about that coral table. It's like the cherry on top of this aquatic sundae. So, let's keep everything in check and make sure our reef is thriving. All right, let's talk about our little aquatic jungle. First off, don't forget to toss some nori in there for our plant-loving pals. Now, about those drains, watch out. They can get all gunked up with algae and detritus. But no worries, just give them a quick pull, rinse them off, and pop them back in. Fingers crossed, no fishy friends get sucked down the drain. If you run into any hiccups with the pumps or wave makers, just holler. I'm here to help. Now, take a look at this tangled mess of wires. If anything goes awry over here, just let me know, and I'll sort it out. This is the right side of our setup, and honestly, it could use a little TLC. I mean, come on, it looks like a rat's nest. Grab some wire ties and tidy things up. Stick those wires back to the wall where they belong, and let's make it look presentable. Oh, and I'll tackle that rust on the stainless steel table. Don't you worry. Now, check out these modules stuck to the walls. We've got a temperature probe up top, and another one lurking below the table. Can you spot it? It's a bit shy, and there are two thermometer controllers keeping an eye on things. Moving on to the skimmer. This baby is a recirculating skimmer, even bigger than the wall reefs. It's got an auto cleaner, and trust me, it's working like a charm. Don't go fiddling with it. I'll handle any adjustments. If it's not doing its job, just give me a shout. If you're feeling brave, you can make tiny tweaks, but be careful. It should froth up nicely, and you want that dry foam collecting in there. You might want to clean this piece every now and then, but the rest should be left alone. Just keep everything looking spiffy. Wire ties are your best friends for all the reef tanks. Seriously, it's a mess right now, and we need to clean it up. Velcro, zip ties, whatever works. Just pull everything together so it looks neat. Now, over here on the right, we have the Kalkwasser reactor. It's an aqua stepper, but it won't be here forever. Just keep that reservoir full, and if it's working right, a pump will keep the sump topped off. Speaking of the sump, I don't think I snapped a pic of it, but it's down there. The coral table on the left is connected, so water drains from there into the coral table. Don't mess with the lights. If you see any wires hanging down, let me know, and I'll help you out. Now, about the filter sock, be super careful. The lip can't be near the top, or it'll clog up in no time. If that happens, water will start pouring out and onto the floor, and we don't want a mini flood. I'll come up with a better solution, but for now, just keep it low enough to avoid a disaster. And that's the scoop. Let's keep this aquatic paradise thriving. All right, folks, let's talk about this coral table. First things first, we need to keep those frags in tip-top shape. A little toothbrush action now and then goes a long way. And hey, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just holler. I can totally get a class of eager school kids to lend a hand. They love getting their hands dirty with this kind of stuff. Sometimes, I even have them frag things if we're in a pinch. But if you notice any maintenance issues, just give me a shout. Now, don't forget about your rag filter and carbon filter. Those bad boys need a weekly and monthly switch up, respectively. Oh, and check out that shut-off valve right there. Moving on, we've got some probes over here on the right side. Generally, we start by placing corals in this table before transferring them to the big tank. Speaking of which, we're gearing up to fill that tank soon. Down below, there's a treasure trove of live rock, and we've got some fish that enjoy a good flake meal. Chromis, to be specific. There might be some other herbivores hanging out in there too. Now here's a snapshot of what it looks like when it's full. Just a heads up, the water tends to overflow and run down the wall onto the floor. Classic me, right? I really need to sort that out. And here's the Apex Fusion setup. You'll see the Trident stuff and temperature readings. But let's be real, the salt levels are probably off, the pH is definitely not right, and honestly, you can probably ignore the rest of it. So there you have it. Let's keep those corals happy and thriving. All right, folks, we've reached the end of this epic journey, and let me tell you, it's been a wild ride. About 28 minutes of pure educational gold. I hope you've enjoyed every second of it and maybe even learned a thing or two. Remember, if you found this useful, give yourself a pat on the back. Now go forth and conquer the world with your newfound knowledge.